Well, happy Wednesday afternoon, everybody. Getting to talk again on the subject, on the topic of prayer. We're going through a series right now at Gillionville Baptist on that topic of prayer, and it's given me a great opportunity to kind of throw open the doors, invite a few of my friends in to talk about prayer, folks that I look up to and respect, and one of those is sitting with us today. Tim Sexton is the director of men's ministry at Eagles Landing First Baptist Church, and is the author of a new curriculum really for Christian dads called M46, Dads Fighting for the Hearts of Their Children. So Tim, thanks for taking a couple of minutes and talking with me today on Facebook Live.
Oh man, thanks for asking me, Chad. Glad to be here.
All right, well, looking forward to it. What we're doing with these interviews is really simple. I'm going to ask you two quick questions about why do you pray, and then how do you pray? And then we're going to get into some topics. Really, I want to talk about M46 and how you would coach dads to really be prayer warriors and prayer leaders in their homes. So, Tim, let's just start with that. Why do you pray?
That's a good question, Chad. I mean, I probably would have answered this question entirely differently, when I was much younger, but I'll be 58 years old soon, and I'm not trying to sound too spiritual, but I pray now because I absolutely have to, man. I know how desperately I need Jesus, and I want to have an intimate relationship with him, which is something we talk a lot about in M46 Dads, which is a difficult thing to understand. But I pray because I know I need to be at his feet, and I know I need to hear from him, which is, that, I guess that's a whole nother discussion. But I used to just rattle off my request and hang up the phone, but now I'm learning as I get older to just spend time with Jesus,
So what does that look like? How do you pray?
It's funny, man. I used to have sort of this fear of God even after I was a believer. So I used to lay down in bed at night or get up in the morning, and I would sort of grovel before God for a while and try to remember all the ways that I had sinned against him that day and list them out for him to kind of clear the air. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Chad, obviously, but man, now I catch myself praying. My first instinct is, God, I'm so thankful that you made a way for me to be made right with you. Thank you for the cross. And I agree with God about my sin for the day, but the fear is gone because I know what the cross has accomplished. And that alone has created an intimacy that I've never really felt before I really understood the gospel the way I do now. So.
Yeah, I think it was J.I. Packer who said, and I could be wrong on this, that the most important thing about a person is what they think about when they think about God. And I'm with you, right? So when I was younger in my walk with Jesus, when I was younger in my theological formation, I had, the picture of the angry God, and that would shape the way that I would pray. I don't know if I'd ever say grovel, but boy, that might actually be close to the mark. But as we learn about his nature and who he is, that changes the way that we interact with him, right? The same way that, when you meet somebody for the first time, you'll interact maybe in a more formal way, but when you get to know them, right, you go from the front porch to the kitchen, right? And that relationship, it changes how you interact with the person. So would you say then that like your experience of prayer and your practice of prayer has changed as you've kind of walked with Jesus through the years?
Absolutely. I heard J.R. Vassar years ago say something. I was driving down the road in my car, and I was listening to a J.R. Vassar sermon, and he said something, and I had to pull my car over. And I'm not being melodramatic. It really knocked me off my feet. He said, insecurity is the enemy of intimacy. And I had been struggling my whole life
Say that one more time.
Insecurity.
Yeah, say that one more time.
Insecurity is the enemy of intimacy. And I realized sort of in that moment, I still had an insecurity when I approached God because I based my standing with God on my own behavior rather than on the performance of someone else. And so that whole idea started to wash over me. you can't ever experience intimacy with someone if you don't know what they think about you. And the cross answers the question, what does God think about me? Now, if I'm his child, how does he see me? So I can approach him with no fear. And so now my prayer life is, thank you for making this possible for me. I love you. And then I spend a lot of time praying for my wife and my kids, and sometimes lately I've been praying with my Bible open, trying to read and pray. But just that idea that you can't experience intimacy with someone if you're insecure, that's gold to me. And that's not my idea. That came from someone else, but that's changed my prayer life.
Well, and that's so much of what we're learning as I've got a group of dads on Wednesday night. We'll meet tonight, as a matter of fact, here at 6 o'clock, working through M46, working through this guide. And what I love about this is my copy, so names on it. I've got to make sure I'm studied up for this evening session. But what I love about it is it's some very simple and basic and important discipleship principles married with this idea of emotionally healthy spirituality, right? We hear it in the book. We've heard it from other authors as well, that you can't be spiritually mature and emotionally unhealthy or needy or in a bad place. These things go together, right?
Yes. I love that. That's one of my favorite quotes. You just rattled off right there. You can't be emotionally immature and spiritually mature at the same time. That can hurt your feelings.
So you've got dads there at the church. I was a member at Eagles Landing for years, and got to benefit from your ministry. I went through a very early version of M46. I think I was part of one of those first crashes, and meant a lot to me in my growth as a younger disciple, as a younger dad, as a younger husband. And you've got these men coming to you, going through this material, trying to learn and to grow as disciples, as husbands, as dads, just as men. What would you say to them as they're struggling with prayer? I know I used to struggle with prayer because I think as we think about guys, as men, spiritual intimacy is difficult. It's hard for some guys.
Yes.
It was hard for me in the way I was wired, to pray with my wife, to be that guy who was modeling prayer for my kids. What would you say to the dads maybe watching this about their prayer life and their role within their family? How does that work together? How would you coach them?
Well, I mean, I think it goes without saying that, as Christians, we know we need to be reading our Bible and we need to be praying. That's Christianity 101. That's not news to anyone. But it's really impactful when our kids know that we're praying, and they know that that's something that's important to us. I just had this conversation with my wife last night. I know that I'm seeing my grown children now connect to God in ways that I had something to do with that when I was raising them, and I'm really still trying to convince my older children that, listen, your dad, I really believe that this is true. And if all the things that we say that we believe are true, then that's going to impact the way I live my life and my priorities and what I spend my money on and my time on. So, but part of that is I want my kids to see me praying, and I want them to see that it's not a ritualistic, pandering sort of relationship with God, that it's a real relationship, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's the way I see prayer.
Yeah, I know I know that one of my earliest spiritual memories was staying overnight with grandma and grandpa and coming into the kitchen, and they had a little round table, little wooden chairs, and seeing my granddad sitting at a table, reading a Bible and talking to Jesus and doing it with a smile on his face. It wasn't for show. It wasn't because I was in the room. It was, he genuinely valued that relationship. And that, as a young kid, struck me and stuck with me through all the ups and downs that have followed. So I absolutely think we've got that role. So it really just tell me a little bit more about M46. Let's just talk about, I mean, I would love to share maybe some of the stuff that we're learning as dads in our crash, maybe what a terminology even is. Just talk about M46 for a little bit and kind of where it comes from and how you're hoping God will use it.
Well, you were, I think, part of one of those first groups that came through Eagles Landing. We have crashes kind of all over the place now, but it started when Kenny Dallas, you know, Coach Kenny Dallas really well. He's a head football coach, loud, big, passionate guy, loves God. He joined our staff here for a while. He's not here anymore. And we were looking for a way to connect fathers who are bringing their kids to sports activities at our Christian school here, but we're not connected to church. We wanted to figure out a way to equip them to be intentional about just loving their kids intentionally, but also ultimately discipling their kids. So we just started M46 is Malachi 4:6 for, you know, fathers will fathers will turn their hearts toward their children will turn their hearts toward their fathers. That all comes from just this desire that Kenny had and this picture that he had in his head of teaching dads to be intentional about spending quality time with their kids, but also communicating and demonstrating the gospel to their kids. So we started this thing at 6:30 in the morning over here. It's kind of blown up into this. We had fathers coming to us saying, hey, we want to get this outside the walls of this church. And so we had some guys come along and just fund this curriculum. And this, you know, we had a publisher come along that published our book for us. But Chad, the whole thing to me, I'm a men's ministry director. I meet with guys all the time. And Barna will tell you what I've experienced, which is that now the number is 64% of kids that grow up in mainline denomination Christian youth groups graduate from high school and they're out. And I believe it's because we're handing, in some cases, dead religion to our kids, which is worth rejecting. And they're not getting a clear picture of who Jesus is and what the gospel is. So this whole ministry to me is helping dads to, through the rhythm of their lives, communicate and demonstrate what Jesus is really like so that their kids will love Jesus and not run away from the angry God when they graduate from high school. You know what I mean? I don't know how to explain it better than that, but that's what this whole thing is about to me.
Well, I know that this is our first crash. We're about halfway through right now. Got a great group of dads. I really, what I appreciate about our group is kind of the honesty. It gives us an opportunity to be honest with ourselves. The discipleship is, it's just, the principles make sense. They're very applicable. I mean, it's every week, you know, we've got that homework, go talk to your kids this week about, 1, 2, 3, and to see how already that's beginning to change some patterns and rhythms and habits for these dads who want to see their kids not just raised in the church, but they want to see their kids raised in Christ.
Yes.
We were already just hearing some great reports back about how God's using it. So I'm grateful for the material. I'm going to make sure that on Facebook Live, in the comments below and in the description on YouTube, we're going to put a link to M46 so that other dads and maybe some other pastors can find that curriculum. And I just appreciate you guys for putting it together and putting it out there. God's using it here. I know he's using it in other places. And hey, he's used it in my life, in my walk, in my development as a disciple, as a husband, and as a father. So as we head out today, Tim, anything else? I want to give you the last word. Anything else you want to say to us?
Just want to encourage dads again, and you already said it, Chad, this ministry was born out of weakness, not out of strength. Kenny and I have been very honest about our own failures and we can't give things away that we don't have. So dads are generally passing down to their kids what they've been given. So a lot of us, I needed to be a cycle breaker, and And so this isn't a, hey, we're awesome dads, come be like us. This is, we really, really need Jesus to teach us how to do this. So that's where we're coming from. And man, I appreciate you having a crash at your church and having me on today, man. It's great.
Well, hey, it's great to talk with you. And again, we're going to put a link in the comments below on Facebook Live, on YouTube. That's going to be in the description. You guys are going to want to check that out. Thanks so much for your time today, Tim. Hey, we're praying for you. We're pulling for you. Thank you so much for your ministry. God bless.
Thanks, Chad.